This is the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast with your host, Kevin Murray.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast. On this episode, we're talking league finances. This is something that impacts every league. If you collect dues, if you have entry fees, if you have a prize at the end of the season, if you get trophies, if you have live drafts, if you do anything to make your league fun, there's probably going to be some costs involved. And so you got to be aware of this topic. You got to touch on it. You got to think about it. You got to coordinate and plan around it. So let's talk about league finances. First off, just some tips. Determine if you're going to have a league fee, an entry fee. You got to determine what that is and make sure that it's an appropriate amount that fits your league. You obviously don't want people extended so far that it impacts their league experience, their experience playing the game of fantasy football. So make sure everyone's on the same page with any type of fee that you install into your league. And set that amount, make it reasonable, and collect those dues in advance. You got to collect dues in advance because nobody likes a person in the league that doesn't pay their dues. It happens. I've experienced it. It's not fun. It's not pretty. So make sure to set your dues, collect those dues, and proceed with the fun parts of the game. Now, obviously, you want to define the payout schedule. Make sure there's no confusion with that. Again, this is the deadline. You pay or you don't play. Obviously, you can charge additional if there's trophies involved, that kind of stuff. We'll get into that a little bit as we go further with this. But don't, make sure that you're keeping those finances secure. There's companies out there like League Safe. Commissioners of fantasy football leagues across the country have been using sources like League Safe to manage finances so that you can avoid the hassle and the potential headache of that responsibility that commission usually bears. Leagues obviously can be ruined by unintentional mishandling of finances. If you're the commish, don't use those dues for anything other than just sitting there waiting to be dished out. Don't go spend those dues. Don't invest them in the stock market. Don't buy yourself something nice and plan to pay the pot back. Don't do that. I highly recommend anything like that. So obviously, League Safe's a great brand, a great company that you can basically have everybody pay their dues to League Safe. They keep it secure. They handle it. Makes it easy for sure. But let's talk about leagues. Let's talk about the expenses that leagues encounter. Let's talk about ways that you can be creative to raise funds to make your league the best that it can be. And sometimes, the most boring, simple league is the best league you've ever experienced, and it's because of great people. And obviously, if you have an amazing set of people to fill your fantasy football league, that makes all the difference in the world. So you don't necessarily need any bells and whistles to have a great fantasy football league. Now, in my opinion, there's a lot of people playing in multiple fantasy football leagues. And so it's good. It's great. It's a wonderful idea to make your league special so that they do stay more, pay more attention to your league. And just because you want league engagement, you want everyone committed to the league. You want everyone having fun within the league. You want everyone to have your league as the primary league that they want to win when they enter the fantasy football season. The league that you set up, you want that to be the one that when people think of fantasy football and they're playing in your league, they think of your league. So a lot of ways to do it. So obviously you can try to have no expenses. Again, no trophies, maybe a homemade trophy, no expansive draft party. Simple. You don't have to have any expenses in fantasy football. You can play. You don't have to have league fees. Some of the best leagues on the planet don't have any buy-ins, entry fees, or anything like that. So that's totally an option. If that works for you, then go get it. Enjoy that because it's not always the most common. So another thing is you can have set costs. You can basically have known costs when it comes to a draft board, when it comes to trophy, that kind of stuff. It's just split the costs. Basically, everyone in the league just splits the costs. That's just as simple as it gets, right? You know what your finances are for your league, and you split the costs. You can also have, if you know those set fees are pretty consistent from year to year, you can have just annual dues. Basically, add those dues onto the entry fee, and that just covers expenses for the league. That's an option. You can do it where the host pays. If a league member loves to host the draft party and go all out in the planning process, give them the green light and have fun. If that isn't realistic, obviously that's not always realistic. Try rotating the host duties. Each year, a new host can put on the event that they want to put on that fits within their own budget. That's an option. Or you can start raising money. You can think about the league in a way where you're trying to actually raise money to experience the best that fantasy has to offer. So you can do a league car wash. League car wash is a great way to do a fundraiser for your league, raising money. You can even incorporate a last place punishment into it. Basically, last place manager needs to set up this league car wash. League members will participate. And you obviously raise money through this car wash, but make that the responsibility of the last place manager. So you can also do like a bake sale, same type of thing. This can be a fundraiser. You can, everyone in the league can get together, bake some cookies, sell those cookies to raise funds for your fantasy football league. You can do a garage sale. Everyone in the league gets together, brings items for a garage sale, and you just sell that stuff off. And that's money for your fantasy football league. You can do this where, obviously the profits, beyond league expenses can go to charity. There's a lot of creative ways to do it. And when I'm talking about, raising money for league expenses, I'm really focused on like the draft party and trophies, if you're buying league banners every year, decorations, all this kind of stuff can add up. And so you can find ways to raise funds through these methods. It makes everybody's life better when it comes to just enjoying everything that fantasy has to offer. So you can do an auction event where you basically submit items for auction, profits go to league expenses. And, you can expand profits towards charity or whatnot. When it comes to league punishments, this is another way to incorporate raising funds. So the last place manager can be involved and required to put on car wash, organize a bake sale, or a last place punishment can be a fine. And that fine can be something that applies towards league funds. Again, trophy, draft board, all those kind of things can be covered with a fine. And again, it doesn't have to be a huge fine, and maybe every additional costs can be expanded and spread out amongst the league members. But that's a way to do it. You can have some type of competition that raise money where, for example, everybody in the league goes to Goodwill, goes to a thrift store. Everyone has to spend $20 on an item, and you have to resell it. Everybody resells those items. You can incorporate this actually into determining draft order. Basically, everybody goes to a thrift store. You have a certain amount of time and money to buy an item and to resell it. And whoever can sell it for the most can choose draft order position first. And you can, again, use this with league finances. Basically, all the profits beyond that $20, which can be reimbursed, can go towards league expenses. And this could be a league bonding event. And that's what it's all about. Again, getting together with your league, doing something good, obviously incorporating maybe some charity, raising money for your league so you don't have to worry about that end of it. But this is just a great way to have a fun fantasy football league that thinks outside of the box. And you can use that, that idea of competitions to raise money and incorporate it into something like this. So obviously you can do community service. We're talking, you and your league mates get together and you do community service. You mow lawns for a elderly neighbor. You do some type of act. You do cook. You cook for the homeless. You do something where you might get paid for this job. Again, it could be building a fence for someone whose fence crashed, right? So some type of community service that that yields a financial return, but obviously you're doing good. That's something where you can raise money for your league. So, and the other thing is you can obviously check your resources. Everybody, when it comes to a league draft and making it a spectacle, if you got 10, 12 people in your league, there's people that have items that you could use in a draft when it comes to maybe lighting or cameras, or or their service, their professional careers might be, someone might be a graphic designer. Incorporate everything that the league members have to offer when it comes to setting up a great draft party. There, you can minimize costs, but you can be resourceful with your surroundings, which I think is a great idea. So obviously you could do something where you just, every year everyone just collects spare change. Everyone has a jar, throw their spare change in a jar, come together at the end of the year, and there you go. You got money, you got income, you got financials that can apply towards paying league expenses. So other than that, you can obviously ask for donations if you're really desperate, or if there are people around you that would love to donate to a great cause. If you basically have a league that does good, that raises money for charity, that does good things, people might want to donate to your fantasy football league. You can basically say, listen, this is going to help cover our expenses for a fun draft experience, and proceeds will go towards charity. Creative ways to do it. It never hurt to ask one more question, ask somebody for a donation, be creative about it, and you never know what will come to you. It's great. So you can also create merchandise. If your league is branded and something that people are enjoying when it comes to logos, that kind of stuff. Basically, create merchandise for your league and sell it to your league members or league family members. Or again, you can create merchandise and provide a little store or a little list of items that family members could buy for league members for birthday presents or Christmas presents. And you can actually raise money that way and apply it towards your league. So these are all ways to think outside of the box, to think about, what kind of league do I want to experience? Do I want a full-on spectacle with all the bells and whistles, which I recommend because I think the fantasy experience is that special and deserves that type of attention. So for me, go big or go home, have a wonderful draft. And if you're worried about how to cover it and pay for it, think about these options that I recommended. Think about, think outside of the box, beyond this. This is just a simple, idea, a set of ideas that could work for you. So think outside of the box, raise money, generate streams of income for your league that can then fund your league experience and make it special. And if you're looking at doing like destination drafts and that kind of stuff, this is right up your alley. You want to be creative in ways where you can raise money and, pay for league expenses. So these recommendations can be used to help cover finances in your fantasy football league, so it doesn't have to come out of your wallet. You want to make sure that you're doing good, raising money to cover an incredible fantasy football league experience. And there's a lot of good options out there for you to do that. These are some recommendations I have for you. Obviously, if you have any questions, concerns, let me know. I definitely would love to discuss these kind of things with you. Fantasy Football Unlimited is all about celebrating the fantasy football experience. So if you love fantasy, if you love the game, if you love enjoying fantasy football resources and finding new resources and growing the league experience for your league members, make sure to find us on social media. You're going to love the content if you are a dedicated commissioner and if you love the game of fantasy football.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast. Until next time, be sure to follow and subscribe to all of FFU's social media accounts for daily content.